with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Heard weekday mornings at 11 on AM 560. The Answer. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So President Trump nixed a trip by his negotiators, that would be like Vance, Kushner, Witkoff, to jet out to Pakistan again for more talks with the Iranians. Not going to happen anymore. No need. They're not serious. We don't need to be flying all over the world for them to just stall and offer something in response that they know is insufficient. We got secure phone lines. Just call me maybe if you want to talk seriously.
On Iran, as you're figuring out who is in charge, if the hardliners or IRGC-aligned leaders have greater power in Iran, can the U.S. make a deal with those factors?
Whoever's running the show.
Are we communicating with those factors?
Deal with whoever runs the show. They don't know. They are fighting with each other. There's tremendous infighting. They're probably fighting for leadership. In many cases, I think they're fighting not to be the leader because we knocked out two levels of leaders. But I'll deal with whoever we have to. But there's no reason to wait 2 days, have people traveling for 16, 17 hours. And we're not doing it that way. We'll do it when they want. They can call me. We have all the cards. We've won everything. We have all the cards.
Yesterday you said to Reuters that we're dealing with who is in charge now. What changed from yesterday to today?
Nothing. It's just that they gave us a paper that should have been better. And interestingly, immediately when I canceled it, within 10 minutes we got a new paper that was much better.
What was on that paper, sir?
We talked about they will not have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. Look, that whole deal is not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple.
Well, it is complicated because they continue to say, like, for example, through their ambassador, Iran's ambassador to India, that we maintain and we demand the right to have a nuclear program for the purposes of energy, not for the purposes of nuclear weapons. But that's what they always say, and then they pursue the opposite. So that's a problem. David Brooks on PBS, Obama's favorite Republican, responding to Trump's relative lackadaisical attitude when it comes to any sense of urgency. You know, they can call me when they want. I'm in no rush. I'm not going to be rushed. I'm not going to be rushed to make a bad deal. David Brooks calls Trump taking his time craziness.
President Trump extended the ceasefire with Iran, but he also said he's in no rush and wants to take his time. Is that measured patience, or does it reflect the absence of a clear end game?
Craziness. I mean, I thought he wanted an off-ramp, and he doesn't seem to be asking. He should be desperate for it. This is an issue that could destroy or severely damage the Trump administration the way Iran-Contra severely damaged the Reagan administration. Second, this is weirdly turning into the Suez crisis. In 1956, the British, it wasn't over the Straits of Hormuz, it was over the Suez Canal. They said, they're trying to block the canal, we won't let them. And then Dwight Eisenhower in the U.S. said, too bad, you're a weak power. You thought you were a superpower? Those days are over. And a lot of people around the world are saying to America, you think you're a superpower? You can't even open the Straits of Hormuz? Your days as superpower is over. So Donald Trump should be eager to get the hell out of this fight.
Uh-huh. And just piggybacking off that, get a little bit more color from the internationalists, the institutional internationalists that dominate the swamp. Former Deputy Secretary of State under Obama and Biden, Wendy Sherman is her name. She was in the room helping to negotiate that nuclear weapon surrender deal that Obama pushed through. It included cash and prizes, you'll remember. This is superpower suicide.
As others have said, we are creating a situation which is really superpower suicide. We have effectively given Russia a way forward to get money for its war against Ukraine. We've put ourselves in a weaker position vis-a-vis the president's trip to China. And we've put our allies and partners, both in the Gulf and in Europe, in difficult positions because of the decisions we have made.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, this is on This Week with Clinton Foundation Donor Zero. So you can't have a foreign policy discussion without listening to the vaunted Richard Haass of the Council on Foreign Relations to get that institutional opinion. And he argues similarly that there should be a sense of urgency on behalf of President Trump because time is on the side of the Iranians.
I think it probably favors Iran a little bit more. We've seen their resilience, George. You know, they're under some pressure given how bad their economy is, but we feel the time pressure, what you just talked about, the energy, the fact that the strait is closed has growing effects, and so far we haven't seen them. Stock markets are relatively sanguine. Even energy prices, okay, gasoline's up $1, but the last tankers to have left the region have now arrived at their ports. That means now the supply shortages are going to kick in big time. And over the next few weeks, you could see gas go up another $1. The idea of $5 a gallon gasoline is not far-fetched. So I actually think we feel the pressure slightly more than Iran.
And how will historians treat this? Because Richard Haass has already helped them write the history. Don't wait for the outcome before you start writing the history. You want to make sure that you define what this was, regardless of outcome.
And when historians write about this, they're going to say this was an ill-advised war of choice. Yes, Iran is conventionally weaker. Its military forces are somewhat weaker, but the cost, the economic cost, the cost to alliances, the cost to U.S. standing, American guarantees, the local partners in the Gulf, they've been hurt by this war. So I think history is going to properly be extremely critical about this war, about the assumptions we made going into it, that Iran couldn't stand up, that it wasn't going to attack its neighbors, it wasn't going to close the Strait of Hormuz. Every one of these assumptions has been proven wrong. So we're winning, if you will. It almost reminds me of Vietnam, George, the body counts. We're winning in terms of the narrow military calculation, but in the larger strategic sense, we're losing this war.
For more on this, Stephen Bucci joins us. He has served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, are they right? Trump is crazy to go at this leisurely pace, and we're losing the strategic imperative here, and history is going to look upon this war unfavorably.
Well, I'm not as presumptuous as Professor Haass there to try and decide what history is going to say. He's been wrong about almost all of his other predictions, so I don't know why we kind of listen to him now. But look, all I heard as I listened patiently to that set of clips was desperate, urgency. God has something now. This is crazy not to make a deal. This is exactly the same imperative that got us the first Iran deal, when you had John Kerry practically, getting his own wallet out and handing it to the Iranians. Please make a deal with me. We have to have a deal. Oh, okay, we'll do whatever you want us to do. That is not the way you do negotiations. For God's sakes, it's really not the way you do it with the Iranians, because they'll eat that for lunch every day. You have to be tough with them. You have to take hard stands. You have to have a little intestinal fortitude. I'm thinking of other terms, too, to use, but they're not polite for the radio. You have to stand up to them. I guess they'd rather have an Iran with nuclear weapons than, have us have a couple of weeks of higher gas prices. I'm sorry, I don't think, $1 more per gallon is an existential threat to America or to the world. And that, clearly the stock market and even the oil industry are not quite as worried about this as the 3 people you had on the tape. So, no, they're wrong. this level of desperation is, what they're really desperate about is trying to make it look like Obama was smarter than Trump. And I'm sorry, he wasn't. John Kerry certainly wasn't. And we just need to allow the president to have the time to finish this. And what's really amazing is before, the same people were saying, he needs to negotiate. So he's negotiating. Now they're mad because he's negotiating. But I guess to them, negotiation means capitulation, and he's not doing that. I'm sorry. I'm not a big capitulation guy with people like Iran.
Well, the other thing, too, is, this is seems to me, but correct me if I'm wrong, a canard that they sort of the internationalists, the Obama set there that still gets invited to shows like This Week, that they keep trying to push that, we've gamed out what would happen. We've gamed out the Strait of Hormuz. We gamed out whether Iran would attack its Gulf state neighbors. And so all the Trump administration's assumptions were wrong. Well, I'm sorry, did those assumptions were also gamed out, discussed, I assume, by the Trump administration, too, since we've been doing the Strait of Hormuz closure games, according to military brass that we've talked to, including yourself, for 4 decades. I assume, that institutional knowledge was conferred as all these other possible contingencies, including attacking the Gulf state neighbors. So the idea that Trump was just sort of blithely ignorant of all that has been gamed out before him seems to me totally implausible.
It is not just implausible, it's completely insane to even have the gall to say it. I'm sorry but the people in the Pentagon, both military and civilian, have a little more focus on this than politicians and legislators who have never done anything like that, have never even participated in war games about it, but they've got a better handle on it. And President Trump and all of his advisors are obviously morons. I'm sorry. They just need to back off and realize they don't know everything. Their decisions and the stuff they're advising him to do confirm that they don't know anything. And just sit down and realize they were wrong before and they're still wrong. Let the real adults try and handle this.
The other argument that's being made by this same circle, and there was a piece from also Obama, foreign policy flacks in foreign affairs too, is that somehow at this stage, both Russia and China are the real victors here, and this is why this is superpower suicide, as Wendy Sherman said. They keep saying it, but they haven't really provided an explanation. They're just stating it as a fact and then restating it as a fact in lieu of an argument. But I mean, do you have a sense of what exactly is the contention to suggest that Russia and China are beneficiaries to date?
I can't. I can tell you why they're not beneficiaries. I mean, China has lost its 2 biggest sources of oil with Venezuela and Iran. They have lost incredible amount of credibility in the Middle East region and other places because they can't do anything to help their former allies, or maybe they're still their allies, I don't know. Their equipment that they've given these people have proven itself to be completely helpless in the face of American military technology, though everybody before this was saying, we got to watch this Chinese stuff in particular. It's really good. It's going to put us in the ground. And the only thing that's in the ground right now is a lot of rubble. And the Russians, okay, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't agree with opening up taking the sanctions off of Russia for a little while because everybody was so apoplectic about oil not getting around. But the Russians are so knocked down at this point that, we went from, look, Zelensky better make a deal or he's going to go down to, boy, Putin better be thinking about making a deal because the Russians are looking worse and worse every day. They're still fighting, but they're not winning, and they're fighting against Ukraine. They're not fighting against NATO, but they can't beat Ukraine. So, no, Russia is not winning, not the beneficiary of this. China is not the beneficiary of this. That is people who hate America and think that if they say that kind of stuff, it'll actually be true.
Do you think at this juncture, when we're at a impasse in terms of any more talks, unless Iran picks up the phone in the near term, that Trump should resume the bombing campaign to send the message that he has threatened to send?
I believe it is time. We've given them multiple shots at legitimate negotiations. They've blown it off, or they've done the typical Iranian, oh, no, we really just mean, for energy, not for weapons. But, we still need to have the enriched uranium because, we just want it. It's ludicrous. We need to take the hammer out again, hit them, and then stop and say, okay, can we talk now? And if they still say no, we need to hit them again. We need to remove the IRGC. That should be the focus of the targeting. The IRGC, and in particular their so-called Navy, which is like Boston whalers and skips. But it's dangerous. They could hurt these oil tankers with that stuff. Those need to be removed. We should have a blanket of air cover, particularly A-10s and Apaches, flowing over there, and anything that has a little white water behind it coming out of their coastline ought to be sunk immediately. No questions, no warnings. If they come out on the water, they go down.
With respect to the IRGC, I go back to this conversation I had with Jonathan Tobin a couple of weeks back, and whether or not it would be judicious to use special forces to essentially seize the regional munitions outposts that the IRGC has, to deprive them of weapons, domestically, essentially, to help castrate them, if you will.
That's an option. They need to be looking at the kind of surgical strikes that kind of operation would entail, and then prioritize what elements of the IRGC need to go first, what capabilities need to be removed first, and then start working down that list. If they can take them out with air power, that's better because it puts less people at risk. At this point, we can do it with impunity. But if there are others that can only be taken out by some folks going in there and doing it face-to-face, that will send a message to them. Even if you only did a couple of them, would send a message to the IRGC that even the troop level members of that organization are potentially at risk, not just the leaders. And that will make a big difference in the climate there.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thank you as always.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. We'll talk to you next week.
Very good. And Stephen joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. Most of us spend our entire lives in the paycheck mode. You work, you get 30% taken from the G, you pay your bills, repeat.